Loading. Okay, I think we are live. Okay, yep, we are live.
Yay.
All right. Hey, everybody in ER Shred, our community. I'm here today with Kathy Martinez. I'm so excited. We're going to be doing the 5 questions interview that I've been doing with different members, just taking time to give everybody a chance to share a little bit about themselves, because that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about this community is that we are truly connecting, and it's a beautiful thing to see how we are able to connect through this online community in ways that feel more personal. And I think by doing the more videos, the weekly calls that we have, and by getting people on these videos is actually a, a better way to get to know each other on a deeper level, instead of just always seeing each other's pictures and text. And this way we get to hear each other's voices and see our personalities come out. So that's one reason why I wanted to do these 5 questions. And the questions that I selected are questions that if I were to sit down for lunch with you or have a cup of coffee, these are the things that I'd like to know about you. So Kathy, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to get to know you even better. You and I have been communicating a lot, and it's been so fun to connect with you in those ways, but I'm like really excited it feels like we're talking face to face. So let's start by having you introduce yourself a little bit for those who may not have heard from you yet in our ER Shred community.
Okay. My name is Kathy Martinez. I live in Pueblo, Colorado. I am married to my husband, Tomas. We've been married. This year will be our 19th year of marriage in July. I have a son, one son. He is going to be 29 this year. And he has a beautiful wife, my daughter-in-law, Sarah, who I love. And they have 2 beautiful children, my granddaughters, who are basically the light of my life. I loved being a mom when I was younger, and now I absolutely love being a grandmother. One of the other things that I made some notes about my answers, and honestly, the role that I am most excited for in my life is my family role. I mean, I just love being a grandmother, doing things with my grandkids, spending time with my grandkids, just being with them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So how would you describe your personality?
You know, I have always kind of thought that my personality is sort of an introverted personality. I prefer to stay in the background. I don't like being up front and center. It just makes me uncomfortable. But I've been learning that, getting out of my comfort zone is something that's very important to do. So,
oh, that's great to hear that you recognize that. What are some things that you feel that you've been trying to do to step out of your comfort zone a little bit?
Well, I feel like for me, even like getting on live videos is something that is out of my comfort zone. So I get a little nervous before them. And then I just tell myself, you're just talking to someone and having a conversation. There's nothing to be nervous about. So.
Isn't that funny how we kind of make it a bigger deal than it is? Like, wait, why am I nervous to talk to somebody?
Yeah, especially somebody who which I feel like I know you and everybody who I talk to online. So there's really no reason to be so nervous about it.
Exactly. I know. It's like sometimes we just need to give ourselves a little pep talk and remind us, like, oh, wait, what are you afraid of?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to be afraid of. And then my other thing that I'm growing in my comfort zone is in my physical abilities to do things. For a lot of years, because of things that have gone on in my life, I've sort of accepted where I am at physically. And I feel like now I'm going to push past those things. And it instills a belief in myself that I didn't have in other areas as well. So if I can harness my ability to believe in myself to pursue bigger physical goals, I can learn that same skill and apply it in other areas of my life where I want to grow past where I am. So,
oh my gosh, that's so well put. I love that. That's one thing that I've really loved about the ER Shred. The protocol itself is, it is a way to do something that's a little bit hard. And in a way, you're able to instill a belief in yourself that, hey, I can do hard things. And then we're always saying it does spill over into other areas of your life. So I'm so happy to see that you're choosing to try out new approaches to instill even more belief in yourself, because it just continues to spill over into other areas of our life. So I love to see that it becomes this snowball effect.
Yeah, it sure does. Really does.
Do you have an animal? I saw your door behind you just like slowly open.
I do have an animal, but I think that was the wind blowing the door open.
Okay.
Because my little dog, my dog is like a little tiny, she's like 6 pounds, and she's a toy poodle. Her name is Lola. And she's about 13 years old this year. She'll be 13, and she's just little tiny. So I don't know if she could even push the door. Must have been the wind.
Oh, really? Oh, well, what else is it that you're passionate about besides health and nutrition? And like you said, you're trying to push yourself physically, but are there other things? And you did say that you just really enjoy being a mother and a grandmother.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that you feel are like that are part of what your personality enjoys or what you are truly passionate about?
Yeah, I like to read a lot. Books have always been a source of just a way to go other places in my mind for me. Yeah. But since about, I would say, October of 2021, I started getting into this mode where I thought I needed to go into this constant like self-help book like journey. So I bought like 5 or 6 different books of all these people who I was interested in. And I blew through the first book and read it and thought, okay, I'm going to jump to the next book. And I found that now I have the desire to read one book more than to read 5 books, because I found that I want to read it to understand it and apply it rather than just read it and kind of know it for a minute and move on to the next thing. I feel like that's a pattern that I've gone through, and I need to stop doing that. I need to.
I can totally relate
understand.
to that.
Yeah.
Yes, because I realized that it was more about a checklist, like, oh, read another book, feel good about myself,
Yeah.
And yeah,
go ahead.
Go on.
No, you go.
Well, and just the fact that I have also done the same thing recently, where I am choosing just a few select books that I really get a lot from and rereading them, but slower and not so much on this like race, to see how fast I can read the books, how many I could read in 1 year, but it's just like really taking it all in.
Yeah. And it's funny because it was your book that helped me realize that. Because I got your book. Yeah. And I was reading through your book and I thought, wow, how did I read all these books that I have read and not really absorb the information because I'm hurrying to get to the next book? Do you know what I mean? So It was really your book that helped me break that cycle. So
oh my gosh, for that. That's so awesome. Thank you.
It really is.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I think the other thing for me, the 2 things that I'm really passionate about now also is my self-discovery. Like, just finding that tendency about myself was like something so key that I would clicked onto. I'm like, wow, I've just discovered that I have something that I didn't even know I was doing. And now, wow, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the journey of self-discovery is something that I'm really excited about. Just learning my patterns and being able to break them and develop new patterns.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And then I'm really excited about my physical stuff. This year, I'm going to climb the incline, which I tried the incline when I was around 40. So it's been about 8 years ago now. And I got to the bailout, which is pretty far up. I mean, it wasn't that much farther to the top, but I got so scared because it was so high and I'm afraid of heights. So I started to like hyperventilate and cry. And I just got too shook up. I was like, I have to turn around and go to the bailout and walk down the trail. And the friend who I was going with at the time, she was like, okay, if we go back, you have to promise that you're going to finish this one day. And I promised that day. And then, things went on and I had some health issues and a surgery. And I just accepted in my mind that it was something that I would never be able to do again. And then I did the ER shred. I started in not October. I started the ER shred in July of 2021 last year. And once I started to feel better physically, I started to dream about things I wanted to do physically. And I wanted to run again because I had become a runner again when I was about 40 and I had stopped running. So I did. Once I felt better, I embarked upon my 8-week training and I ran again. So it was after that that I decided that I was going to get to the top of the Manitou Incline. And
What
so
is
I
that
actually
called? I want
have
to
a
look
date.
that up.
It's called the Manitou Incline. It's
How
in
do you spell
Colorado
that?
Springs. It's Manitou, I believe. Yeah.
Incline. Okay, because
Yeah.
I want to look that up. I've never heard of it. I want to
Yeah.
like see some pictures.
It's an elevation of 8,550 feet and it's 2,768 steps to the top.
Wow. How
Yeah.
long do you think that takes?
Well, when I went the first time, it took me several hours just to get to the bailout. Because
Oh.
while there were people who do it every day and multiple times and can do it in 30 minutes, I was not there. But I can tell you that right now I am in 100% better physical and mental shape than I was then. So I know. I mean, I'm proud of myself before I've even put my first foot on the step, because I know that when I go there on April 30th, I'm not going to stop until I get to the top, no matter what. There is nothing that's going to stop me from reaching that top step. I know I'm going to be there. And I shared with Sean, I have a flag that I made. I don't know if he showed it to you, but I actually had a flag made with things that are important to me on the flag.
Oh,
And
I
when
want
I
to
get to
see.
the top, I'm going to plant my flag at the top. And
Oh,
there's like a whole community of incline climbers that are there every day. And I've joined their Facebook group. So when I go to make my ascent, when I feel like I'm getting discouraged or it gets hard, I'm going to tell myself and coach myself. But there are going to be people there who do it every day. And I'm going to tell them, if you see me stop, I need you to push me forward because I need help getting to the top. And I know that they will help me because they are dedicated incline climbers and they encourage everyone who tries it. So I'm really excited about it.
oh, that's so fun. I can't
Well,
wait to see. I want you to send me a picture of your flag or
oh, I
post it
will.
in the group. Yeah,
I will.
because that sounds really awesome.
Oh yeah. And the funny
Such a
part
great
is
goal.
I've imagined this day that I'm going to do this in my mind, like clear picture of what everything will be like when I get to the top since the day I made the decision that I was going to try it again. Yeah,
That is
I
so
just
cool
know it.
because that
Yeah.
really goes into the next question I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
and the importance of visualization. And that's why I wanted this to be like one of the components to this interview is to not only do I get to learn more about you, but we also get to practice a little bit of visualization. And so I'm glad that you already understand the power of visualization,
Oh yes.
which I totally have seen within my life how that does really affect what I'm trying to manifest. You know, as I practice visualizing what I'm hoping to manifest, it really does lay the path for you to have that. You know, like for me, it was what like a natural childbirth was my first time actually visualizing, and that was so helpful for the preparation of going into my first experience with natural childbirth, just visualizing how I wanted it to go. And it really did help me, you know, create the way the birth the way that I was hoping for it to turn out. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear some other things that you are hoping to manifest within the next few or 5 to 10 years. And how would you visualize, you know, if you could describe how you would visualize that, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm working on actually is I've discovered in my self journey that when I have a physical goal that I want to achieve really badly and I get behind it 100%, I can visualize the outcome and know I'm going to do it. Like this year, I'm going to walk a half marathon. That's farther than I've ever walked. I'm
Yeah.
going to run 10K again. So far, I've only done 5K, but I know I can get to 10K because I have before, you know? And so for me, one of the biggest goals that I have, and discovering it came at a price. I feel like when I was a young child, I was with my maternal grandparents a lot, and they had this way about them. They were just always happy. They didn't go to work because by the time I came, they were already retired. They worked their whole life for the telephone company in New York. And then when they retired, they moved down to Florida where I was born. And so as a young child, when my mom was in school or working, my sister and I would be with our grandparents. And I remember being at their house and playing in the lake and picking fruit off the fruit trees and kicking around balls in the backyard and doing all this stuff as a kid. And I just loved being with them. Like they inspired me to be this happy little child that, you know, looked for dress up and dance during Lawrence Welk and all this stuff. And I want to have that same thing with my grandchildren. And my grandchildren, I think I started a little bit earlier than my grandparents because my granddaughter Sophia is now at the age that I was when I remember. And I was thinking about it, and my goal in life has always been to be with my grandchildren when I'm not working, you know, a regular job whenever I want. But I started thinking about the fact that, you know, in 20 years when I retire from a job, my grandchildren will already be grown and all that time will have passed. So right now, what I'm trying to do as far as visualizing is visualizing a way to have the time freedom that I want to spend with my grandchildren by trying to figure out a new way to get there. Instead of working until I'm 67 and retiring, what can I do to make my life a bit different so that I can have that time freedom with my grandchildren while they're still young? So,
That's such a beautiful goal.
yeah.
Have you come up with any solutions or ideas that you're trying to experiment with?
I am. Well, one of the things that I'm really, you know, excited about is this training that we're doing to share the shred.
Oh, cool.
I
I
feel
wasn't sure
like
if you were in that, but I'm
I
excited
am.
that you're
I
in that
am,
as well.
and
Mm.
I've wanted to share it, and I do share about it. But the thing is for me is I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never even considered being an entrepreneur. My whole life has been about working. I mean, that's one of the things that I wrote down in a next question. They talk about things that you're proud of that you've accomplished in your life, and for me, I feel like I wanted to be proud of the fact that I worked my whole life and then retired at 67 and, you know, made a fabulous career for myself and could enjoy my retirement at 67. But in observing that and seeing if that reality is still relevant in today's world, I don't really think it is anymore. It doesn't seem real anymore.
Mm, what
So it's time
self-awareness
to,
you have. I so love that. And I really feel like 2020 has been like a birth for all of us in a
yeah.
sense. And, that's when ER Shred was born. And I think all of us are really taking a look at the way we've done things for our entire life and reconsidering what our goals were.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I love that you are recognizing that and you're, tapping into that creativity, which is what I really been so excited about is understanding that in order to tap into that creativity, you have to accept the I don't know. And
Yeah.
once you accept the I don't know, that's when it opens up the space for something new to emerge. And so, isn't that amazing that you have kind of gotten to that place where, you perhaps were not so sure how you knew what you wanted, but you weren't sure how am I going to achieve this in a way that is different than anything I've ever done before. And so I
Exactly.
love that you've been able to really open up that door. And now, isn't it beautiful to see that these ideas and things are coming to you? You're
Yeah.
attracting different things like the tribal training. And I'm just so excited that you're a part of that and for
Yeah.
all the people who are participating in that, because it's going to be so exciting to see many people just like you who would not consider themselves an entrepreneur, but are trying something completely out of their norm and out of their comfort zone. And it can be a very exciting thing when you tap into the creative source and even the belief in yourself that you can do new things, you can do hard things. So that's so awesome. I want you to tell us a little bit more about other things in your life that you are proud of You said that you've, done, well, you have your goals as far as your physical and the things that you've attempted, but what are some other things that you are really proud of that you've accomplished over the course of your life?
Okay. Well, when I had my son, I was 19 years old. I had just gotten out of high school. I didn't have a plan to go to college at the time. I had a plan before I got pregnant to go to college in a different city, but I had moved to Pueblo, and then I, got pregnant and was going to be a mom. So for me, at that point, my goal changed. I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to be a mom. What am I going to do so that I can raise my son in a way where he doesn't have to feel like he doesn't have what he needs in life? So I made it a goal that I was going to go to college, but I didn't start until my son was 3, and I didn't finish until he was 5. But when I got out, I thought, I just had these dreams like, okay, now I have this computer degree and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get this great paying job and I'm going to be an overnight success. But that didn't happen for me. I had to take a job in the place where I live in Pueblo that I didn't like. And I worked there for a while. And then I had an opportunity to interview in Colorado Springs, which was a while away, about a mile north of here, an hour north. And so I thought that, I'll just start this job in Colorado Springs. This is a great jumping board for my career. And so I did. I mean, and I worked at that company for 19 years and I had a variety of positions and I did a lot of great things there. And I feel like I grew up into the person who I became at that company, if that sounds crazy. I don't know.
I love that.
I really did. I grew into the person who I became. My son was, 5 years old when I started working there. And by the time my career was over there, he was already in his 20s. I mean, I worked there for a lot of time and I had some great mentors and like bosses along the way that really helped me not only in my job, but like helped me with self growth, personal growth when I was working, which really helped me in all other areas of my life. But it came at a cost, I mean, there were years where I worked so many hours that I missed things with my son. And that is harder for me to even look back on now. But at the same time, I'm proud of myself that I was able to still be involved because I didn't miss parent teacher conferences or anything like that. If I had that, I always made arrangements so that I could be at those things. But part of me was just that in those years, I wasn't so consumed with trying to get ahead monetarily so that I could have had more time to go to football practices and things of that nature that I missed. So that was one thing. I feel like the other thing that I'm proud of in my life is my post-divorce life with my son's father. He and I split when our son was 3, and we got divorced when he was 6. So we were separated for a while. But even though we were divorced, we maintained like friendly to a certain extent contact with each other, but we were always co-parents with our son. And for me personally, coming from a divorce, in my personal life as a child, it wasn't that way for me, unfortunately. My parents didn't see eye to eye when they divorced, and that's not something that I concern myself with because I wasn't then. You know what I'm saying? That was their marriage and their thing, and I love them both dearly. And I love my bonus mom who's been with my dad for decades now. So I'm very fortunate to have that. But for me, I wanted to try and co-parent with my ex-spouse.
Sorry,
And
it's an Amber Alert.
oh, sorry.
No, it there. Okay.
So I wanted to co-parent with my ex, just because I felt like it was important that we communicate and help our son and both be there for our son in different ways. And we did that. I feel like we did that, to the best of our abilities. Were there mistakes that I made? Sure. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but I feel like, when there are events where the blended families have to come together, I feel like it's a much more pleasant experience. Like when my son got married, I had no problem standing with my ex-husband at my son's wedding because we're parents together to our son and we like each other and we care about each other. We're just not married. You know what I mean? So I'm really proud of that.
That's so
in my
great
life.
too. Isn't that great when you can use your own childhood experience as ways to do things a little bit differently? And don't you see that as a gift? And it brings me to the part where I could see that you were getting emotional. You have some regrets around some of the years when your son was younger, but also I hope that you do recognize that every part of his experience is perfect for him because of the things that he learns from it, and in no way is shaming you know for yourself, like no way for you've been able to give your parents grace for what they knew at the time and the way you were raised, but also what it taught you, what it showed you, for you to make some adjustments. And that's how evolution is. That's how we describe evolution. It's just we're building upon the past. And how beautiful is that if we can embrace it all and embrace every aspect of it, knowing that good does come from all the decisions that we made. It all depends on how we decide to look at it. And I guarantee your son has no the feelings that you have about yourself and the regrets. I guarantee your son has learned so much from you in the way that you look at your parents and your upbringing, and you're able to see it as perfect for you because it taught you so much. And I'm sure there's all kinds of other things that you could look at and that he could look at during the times, like where he was going to daycare or had babysitters. I'm sure he has some beautiful experiences from all of that. Also, a lot of lessons that you learn during that time, like independence and just a lot of different life lessons that I think are invaluable when you can look at every aspect of that as exactly the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. So I'm also very proud of you for learning some things from your own parents and trying to implement the things that you've learned in your life and with your divorce, and being able to harmoniously co-parent. Like, what a gift that is as well.
Yeah, it really was.
So I love that. Are there other things that you wrote down on your list of things that you're proud of?
I feel like one of the things that I am proud of myself for is a few years ago, like when my career came to an end with the company that I was working for, I knew it wasn't about me, but at the same time, it was the end of my dream of I'll work there until I retire. So I feel like that got in my head a lot, and I felt like I was stuck for a long time.
Wait, when was that?
That happened in 2019. Or no, it was in 2018 that I lost my job. And then in 2019, I had health crisis and all this other stuff. But now I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this?
So when you lost your job,
what
are you
proud of? So when I lost my job, I kind of fell apart. I mean, honestly, I went into a spiral of like anxiety and depression. And so I sought out therapy, which was important for me because I feel like at some point in my life, in my mind, I got in my head, people who go to therapy, they just can't deal with their own problems. But it became clear to me that I needed therapy. I mean, at several times in my life, I have sought therapy, but in this particular instance, I went to therapy for probably a good 2 solid years, at least, once a month, sometimes more whenever I needed it. But it built in me ways to cope with things that I struggled with. And it was also hard for me because when I went to therapy, it was the first time in my life that my therapist told me, in addition to this, you might have to take some medication for this. And I got in my head, oh no, now I have to take these, mental health drugs. And it got in my head. And she said something to me that changed it. She said to me, if you had, like, for me, I had high blood pressure at the time. So she put it in this analogy. If you had a medical condition like high blood pressure, and a doctor told you that you should take some medicine to help your high blood pressure, would you put a judgment on yourself or shame yourself because you needed high blood pressure medicine? No, you wouldn't. So why would you do that if you needed some help with your mental health at this point in your life? And it changed everything for me. I mean, I just thought, okay, I'm going to take these medicines and I'm going to just, work on this through therapy and get better. And I did. But I feel like now I've evolved to the place where I've realized that those medications that I needed then are not necessarily something that I'll continue to need for the rest of my life. So as I get more stronger mentally and physically myself, and in my therapy that I learned other ways to cope, I feel like my need for medication to help with that has decreased, and I can change my perspective around the whole subject of mental health. It's a subject that's very important to me. So yeah.
I think that's so great for you to recognize. And also, I genuinely believe that we could all benefit from therapy. I too used to think that therapy was only for people who had a lot of issues, but I soon realized that we all have a lot of issues.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's okay.
To
Like,
have
we are
issues.
all working
Yeah.
through things, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with us.
Yeah.
And it's just a journey. So
Yeah.
it's so
It
funny
is.
that my mentality when I look back, I was always so afraid to ever admit that I was depressed in at any time in my life. And it's I think it's becoming more people are becoming more open and vulnerable around that, and realizing that by doing that, we're all realizing that we have just been trying to pretend that we have life figured out and we have everything. We're not struggling ever,
Yeah.
but it's I think we're all realizing how empowering it can be to admit that we need help, and there's nothing wrong with us because we need help. We all need help,
Mm-hmm.
and to allow ourselves to accept help is actually incredibly empowering, which
It is.
we thought it was the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By
For sure.
admitting that like we have issues.
Yeah.
So good for you. Now, I would love to hear. Let's finish out this call by you telling us what you specifically believe around life, the purpose of life. What beliefs do you have that help you get out of bed in the morning and see life as beautiful instead of the times when we are depressed and we see it as dark and sad? But I would like to hear what are when you are in a good space, what beliefs keep you going?
Yeah. I feel like for me, in the darkest times of my life, I really did. I felt myself questioning, what is the purpose? Like, why am I here? There has to be more than this. Like, what am I here for? Am I here for every day to get up and go to work and earn a paycheck and pay bills? There has to be more to life than that. And for what I found is that when I focus on, is that the meaning of my life, to go to work and pay bills and punch a time clock, my whole mindset becomes something else. So what I've tried to do now is to embrace that my purpose in life is to really live my life to the fullest, to do all the things that bring me joy, and to do it along the way with the people who I love, you know, to spend the time with the people who I love. Even if I'm just sitting at home watching a movie or going out and taking a walk with my husband, those are the things that are the purpose of life. The purpose of life is not to accumulate things or to accumulate money. The purpose of life is experiencing life with those you love, and, you know, bringing joy to others along the way, for me.
In a nutshell. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that because I think sometimes we overcomplicate the
Yeah.
purpose of life, and it can
Yeah.
be very simple yet peaceful and enjoyable and extremely fulfilling.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
way you describe that is just like really like it's so simple in
It
doing the
really is.
things that you love, even the simple things like taking a walk with your husband. doing things that you love with the people that you love.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's all it really has to be. Like, we don't
Yeah.
have to make it more than that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that it has to be extremely hard and it has to be so challenging. But, like you said, just shifting your mindset to the good parts, the things that are simple yet fulfilling,
Yeah.
and not focusing on, is this really my life, to work every day just to pay my bills? Like, yeah, that does sound depressing and boring and like no end to it,
Yeah.
But I really do believe that we create heaven on earth, we create hell on earth, all through our thoughts and our
Yeah.
beliefs. And if we
Yeah.
believe that this is all life is to go to work and pay our bills, then it will be a living hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've realized how to make life heaven on earth.
Yeah. And I feel like, for me, it's totally about a mental shift because I still have a job and I still have to work. I mean, today I'm taking the day off, but I still have a job and I still work, but when you shift the way you look at it, what you see changes. It's just that simple. But it's not simple. And the same way, like it's simple to know it, but it's not simple to actually apply it. Especially like when, life throws the stuff at you that it throws, and then you have to readjust. You have to take in what it's throwing at you, realize it is what it is, and then move forward in a way that doesn't cripple you or steal or rob your joy. And I'm still learning that on the daily, but it's becoming more natural to me to live that way instead of being something that I have to think about.
Yes. And that realizing that it does take daily practice to make sure that our mind is believing the right things and not attaching to negativity or stories that aren't even true. It does take daily effort. And that's why I really am a huge believer that meditation, it can really have a huge impact on everybody's life, because if we realize that it's a daily practice to keep our minds in place, then we are able to implement it. Because like you said, it's easier said than done, but if we make it part of our daily practice, then it can become more of a habit instead of something that is extremely challenging when those hard things come up. And it becomes a lot harder than it has to be. But if we make something a daily habit to make sure that we're managing our mind and our emotions, then when those things come at us in life, we feel a lot more equipped to handle them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. This
You're
has
welcome.
been so much fun
I
to
enjoyed it
learn a
myself.
little
It's
bit more
been
about
great.
you. Yes. So thank you for being willing to do it. And thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been a lot of fun to get to know more about Kathy Martinez. So I'm going to go put this up on the podcast and the ER Shred YouTube channel for anyone who is just joining us, so you can go catch the replay. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Bye.